I'm Jay Pitts, a real estate broker, agent, leader, and investor. For the last decade, I've navigated the craziest of real estate markets this country has ever seen, selling over 2,000 homes, moving in and out of markets, always ahead of the curve. And now I'm bringing that perspective to you. This is your resource, and Real Talk About Real Estate starts right now. And we're back, folks, with another episode of Resource, Real Talk About Louisville Real Estate. Thank you for joining us once again. You know, we're stringing together a few weeks, Seth, where we've got, some episodes 1 week after another. I think this is 4 in a row after our COVID hiatus. So we are certainly excited to be back with you again. It's Wednesday, and I have a treat for you. I know I always say that, but today I really mean it. Promise. I have a very special guest, someone that, runs a very interesting business for us here in the real estate space. Someone that was kind enough to feature me in said business. We'll get to talk about that here more in just a minute. I have Miss Kate Vogel with Louisville Real Producers Magazine. Kate, thank you. All the way from Utah, I understand.
Yes, we are on an extended stay in Utah. We were actually planning to be home by now, but put off the 22-hour drive with 2 little ones that I told you they were gonna.
Yeah, this is the way it goes.
I didn't know it was gonna be this soon.
Well, hello.
Okay, so this is a first, but I love it. Okay, we might have to ask her what her opinion is, but no. So this is in a microcosm, honestly, Kate. Just exactly what so many of us have had to navigate this year in 2020. So, I promised you and I did a state of the market back right after COVID kind of began and the pandemic kind of set in on us. And we talked about where the market was. And, that was I was in my basement. You were in your home office before you went to Utah. And my wife was probably upstairs, like regulating the children, making sure that they didn't get in the middle of daddy's call. But, sometimes it happens. This is a first for Resource, but this is
great. The more the merrier. We're kid friendly around here.
Oh, and there she goes. Okay.
Yes,
so
she's gone.
You're going to shut the door. Okay. Padlocks work pretty well. I've not from personal experience, I promise.
Not my house. I can't.
I know we can't do that. Anyway. Okay, so I'm really intrigued, and for those of you that don't know what Real Producers is a magazine that features, top real estate professionals. It's market specific. There's I don't know how many chapters around the country. I know Louisville's not the only one, but it's an organization that makes its business of featuring top producing real estate professionals, not just in their business life, but in their personal life also. It's an organization that focuses on service. It's an organization that focuses on rising stars. And, it tries to bring a social aspect. I'm doing a commercial for your business. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. But it brings a social aspect to some very social beings, which are real estate professionals. We often joke that real estate people talk and text with each other hundreds of times a year, but rarely see each other face to face. Even at closings nowadays, we have lost that face-to-face connection. Apparently 2020, wanted to take that to a whole nother level. But I'm just curious, Kate. We're just over a year in now, right?
Yes.
What is year one? What does that journey look like for you?
So it's been a bit crazy. We've had some additional crazies added to just being self-employed and running your own business. But it's been pretty cool. So Jay was nice enough to let me feature him on our very first debut publication. Do you have it there? Let's see it.
I do. We were just discussing how you did some creative photography or editing or something. You made me look a lot more handsome than I actually am.
But hold it up to the.
I certainly appreciate that. The beard was not present in September of 2019.
That was another COVID new normal. But Yeah, no, I think I'm the one who's honored, but thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, so it's been quite an experience. So everything that you said leading up, for the intro, I feel like you work for Real Producers and like the big wigs. Like those are all the things that they say when I was learning about the business, to launch into Louisville. So you're right. I mean, agents, they know each other. They talk to each other, text, email, those types of things constantly, but really forming those relationships and getting to know each other, it's different. You know the people in your office, but those aren't always the people that you're doing transactions with constantly. So it's really just bringing together that community as a whole through the city that we live. And I believe Louisville was the 80th city in print in 4 years. So now I think we're over 100 at this point nationwide.
That's exciting. So obviously, like you said, 2020 has presented some unique challenge to being self-employed, and I think, Kate, you have probably experienced some similar challenges that some of our agents have fighting through the pandemic with the social aspect to your business, maybe even more so because getting groups together is not really a possibility right now. In person, I know you've pivoted like many. We had our virtual happy hour once during the quarantine. That was interesting and fun. But I think more interested in hearing what you've learned from the real estate professionals. As you know, this is a show whose audience is real estate people. Our business is in providing information, market analysis, training, inspiration to real estate professionals in the Louisville area. And we have a few, listeners from outside the space, but you have a really unique access, I will say, to a variety of very, very different yet equally successful real estate folks. I mean, it's your job to feature someone, on the cover of your magazine monthly, that is Real Producers' definition of success. You also get to interview monthly a rising star, someone who is just on that kind of bottom of that growth curve, right? Getting ready to explode. And so I'm just intrigued to know what lessons you may have learned or similarities or differences. What have you learned from the folks that you featured on your magazine over the last year?
So I've been really lucky. Everyone that I've met that has been nominated for any of those positions, whether it is the cover story, the rising star, the impactful agents, I've been super lucky that everyone is just a really good human on all levels. They are a hard worker. I mean, work ethic obviously is number one. Everybody is super driven, and those whys, they range. Everybody's different. I mean, some people have a family with 5 kids. I've featured a rising star that's 20 years old, and his why is probably completely different than somebody like you and I at our stage in life. But it's everyone's work ethic is pretty similar, and has the drive to not only be successful for themselves, but to be there for their clients and really be an approachable type person.
Right.
Very giving and well received, and that's really what I've gathered from almost everyone that I've spoke to. I mean, it's different levels of people, of just personalities and things like that, and it's really cool to watch the types of people that are attracted to that, and their teams, and how their teams are built, and those types of things. So I haven't really come across anyone that isn't willing to grow and wants to help others grow and build their business in the right way of really connecting and helping people find their starter home, investment properties, whatever it is, really working and tailoring towards their clients.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So you go from a mother of 5, 1 month, to a 20-year-old just on the brink of adulthood, frankly, learning, what this life has, to throw at them. That's one of the things I will say, Kate, that I tell our agents that is so great about real estate. A few sayings, they quote me all the time, and they think it's hilarious to do so. They always misquote me on purpose and attribute things to me that I don't actually say. But these are things that I do actually say. Number one, there's infinitely many ways to make it in the real estate business. With a situation where your potential client base is literally the entire public, you can have any sort of personality. You can be an introvert, you can be an extrovert, you can be a type A, you can be a type B, you can be a leader, you can be a follower, and there's a place for you in the real estate industry. And my way is not necessarily the right way. What I hope, and I it's funny, you called me a leader of leaders, which is something that is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate. Something I aspire to be, certainly. I'm not sure if I've achieved it, but I think the measure of a leader is the quality of the person that follows them. And I've had the pleasure of leading some incredible people, but each of them do the business differently. It's their own way. I tell them all I hope is that they learn from the lessons that I give them to kind of, move the needle in one direction or another for their choice of how to pursue the business. So to hear this, from you, it doesn't surprise me. It's actually nice to hear from someone who is not a real estate professional, someone who's not in the industry listing and selling homes, that these truths are obvious to people, not just in the thick of what we do. So here's another one. So, what about the personality types? We've touched on that a little bit. What kind of personality types have you seen? We've said that, literally any type. What's the range? I mean, we've heard about personal circumstances. We know those are very different. What about personality types? What have you learned from real estate agents? And are there any personality traits that you think maybe may lead to you heard just good people, right? And I hear you. But what is it? I mean, you have to have met some characters. I know I'm not the easiest person to work with, so.
Your character one.
What's that?
I said your character number one.
Oh, I try.
No, I think just where we live in general, we're really lucky in Kentucky for the most part. I mean, people want to be good for the most part. And so that makes it easy. People are just nice, like little things that you don't think about, like hold the door for others, say hi, smile. I mean, I guess we're smiling through masks right now, but that's not everywhere.
Common courtesy.
And so it's kind of like a Southern hospitality type thing. Even though I don't really consider Kentucky the South, I think, whatever. People go back and forth on that. But gosh, there's just such a range of people that I've met with. There are some people that I've met with that are like, I don't really like doing the public speaking thing. I don't like doing the FaceTime live where I'm showing the home and I'm doing this and that. That's not me. That's not.
And then there's me. You give me a mic and I won't give it back.
But it's really cool to see that, because I'm that way too. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Let's do this. I have to host the events and the parties. And I was not like that growing up in high school. Like I would get sick before having to do a presentation class. Oh, it was ridiculous. So, it's really cool to watch people grow. And I think as they develop in their career, those types of things change. But, it's really cool to watch and see people on total opposite ends of the spectrum be successful and find their niche that's appropriate for them and their business.
Yeah. Have you seen, I'm aware of a few people that you featured whose businesses have grown substantially. And I felt like, there's never been a person that I and I follow along obviously, but there's never been a person I've opened your magazine to find either the cover story or the the rising star for that month where I've been like, I don't know about that one. I've never had that feeling. So I feel like you've got a knack for identifying, people who have a story that needs to be told. Can you, Kyle Elmore comes to mind as a gentleman whose business has grown leaps and bounds in the last 12 months. I happen to know Kyle personally prior to his real estate career. And he and I talk often. Is there anything like that you can point to? Maybe Kyle's the best example, but somebody that you've had the pleasure of watching their business like flourish as a result of, your work with them. I'm not saying you caused it, but you got a front row seat is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. A lot of the rising stars, for sure, because people that are the cover stories, I mean, they've typically been successful for, quite a while at least, more than 3 or 4 years. So they're kind of already established, and I'm getting to come in at, not at the top, but, after they have kind of already made a name for themselves. So the rising stars are really cool to watch. The one that I was referencing, the 20-year-old Ethan Adams.
Yeah.
He played football at St. X, and we went and did his photo shoot down there.
He's got a dog that's probably taller than you are.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with his dog. It's Harley, I want to say, is his
Harley.
dog.
Great name, right?
But yeah, but that dog is part of his persona as a real estate agent, and it's just really fun to see the growth, them get so excited about the articles and sharing them before I even have a chance to post them on our Real Producers social media. I kind of have to set a timeline of when I'm sharing things throughout the month, and not that I expect them to wait, because everyone's so excited to be featured. I'm like, yes, please go ahead and share it. Share your picture, share this. It's the point of representing them in a way to show that, hey, I'm working really hard. I didn't pay for this. I didn't pay to be featured. It's all based on nominations. And one of the things that you said something, and it kind of popped in my mind, that it's really hard for me to keep track of what agent is where, at what brokerage, at what firm. Honestly, I don't keep track of it. I don't really care. I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way. To me, that's not even on the list, when we're talking
considering we're the most featured brokerage in the magazine for the last 12 months, I'll just say,
that's what
I totally understand. There's no favoritism. It's you're objectively looking at who's the best. I don't mind that.
But, and so I was getting ready to say that, like, I didn't even realize, like, obviously I knew Tracy is with you, and Janitra is under Tracy and those types of things. But then, we just featured Scott and,
Yanni and Victoria.
I just forgot, I know these things, but it's not like a working thing in my brain that, he's with you. And then same with Amanda Houlet was our first rising star. And then come to find out about 45 days later, she had moved over to your brokerage, and she's like, is that okay? And I'm like, girl, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Well, you're just making my job easier for me. You publish these articles, and I'm just like, well, I guess I need to call this person because they must be amazing, right? No, that I kid. The folks that you have featured, Amanda's the only one that was, I think, in the process or had considered moving around the time that she was featured. She might have even already moved by the time the issue came out. But neither here nor there. I think your point is well taken, right? It doesn't matter the office they're with. It's the individual. And that's why a concept like this works so well. I mean, you could say, oh, realtors are vain, they're self-absorbed, whatever, what have you. I'm sure there's some people out there with ugly opinions for almost any good idea. But in my mind, what this does is humanizes. It gives you what we do as real estate people get it kind of confused. People think we sell homes. We don't sell homes. We sell ourselves. Homes sell themselves. I consult with a homeowner to help them understand why their home will or won't sell in its current state for what they want it to sell for. And I advise them, it's their choice. I don't get those choices. They have to follow my advice. When I tell them, you do this, you don't do that, you do this, you don't do that, you ask this and you'll get this, and they listen, success happens, right? And that may sound a little overly confident, but I believe I have a track record that kind of backs up that statement. And what Real Producers allows an agent to do is show themselves as a person. And when people buy you, they buy you as a whole person, right? They buy the fact that I'm a family man, right? They buy that, Scott is a young father, that Janitra is a world-class, bodybuilder, right? They buy Janitra's discipline. They buy Yanni and Victoria are classically trained ballroom dancers, right? Their success at a high level of something other than real estate gives their clients the confidence that they'll be successful at this too. So I think Real Producers really is a sorely needed opportunity for agents to humanize themselves in a very intensely personal transaction. So I'm sorry, I know you're the guest and I'm doing all the talking, but I don't know. I guess I just feel compelled to tell you that how good a job I think it does.
Thank you. A few things. It's just so funny every time you mention somebody's name that's been featured. I smile for a different reason every time I go back to, I go on every photo shoot that I can't obviously right now, but it's just so fun and it's so cool to tell their stories. I don't write the articles. I have a writer, a professional writer, and it's just so cool to get the stories back from Brynn and not only read them for myself, but hear the feedback from our featured agents saying how much they loved him, how much that experience was just so thoughtful for them. So we just tried to make the whole experience just unique for everyone. And another point that I wanted to bring up that I've been trying to get across through social media is we really do work on a nomination process. So that's kind of how a lot of these people come to be featured. So all the time I'm like, who is someone that can be a cover agent? That's usually top 50, top 75 agents in greater Louisville. Sure. So it's not only Louisville, Southern Indiana as well. And then those aren't really hard for me to come by. I've met most top agents and we're pretty secure there on who we can feature. It's the rising stars. Those are the people that I don't know about yet that maybe might not be on the list, the reporting list, but their numbers are coming up. And I'm like, please share with me these people that are on your teams that are, maybe they're not even on your teams at a different brokerage that you've heard their name. And hey, they might have an amazing story. Check them out. It is based on nominations. It's not based on a system of me sitting down with a list and being like, okay, I think I'm going to call them this month and feature them. I really want it to be a community-based effort of who is working hard, who has fun stories to tell. And on top of the rising stars, I do an impactful agents spot as well. And that's not even something that's franchise-based. There's certain articles through Real Producers that we have to have, right? And then we can pick fun, niche type of articles that we find important. And that's why I do the impactful agents. I think it's really important for community service and giving back. And we spotlight several different agents that do those types of things, whether it's with the VA, with working with the elderly, doing work with like the Humane Society, those types of things. I mean, across the board spectrum of different highlights and things like that. So everything is based on nominations.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And before we ended today, I was definitely going to ask. So why don't we just go ahead and get this out of the way now? It sounds like what you could use help from our audience is some participation in terms of nominations. How can our listeners find you? Where do they nominate? What's the process? If I've got a broker sitting here listening to this episode, right, who has a relatively new agent to the business that is just doing great things and they deserve to be nominated, how do they go about doing that?
I should be pretty easy to find. So
Okay.
you can find me on Facebook. She's back.
Yeah.
You can find me on
So cute.
Facebook. We have an Instagram account, cell phone number, email address. They're all in the publications. They're all on our social media.
Okay.
I can give that out to you guys now. You can put it up.
We can put it in the agent notes however you want. If you want to find Louisville Real Producers on Facebook or Instagram, direct message.
Yes. Go on.
Oh, I love the ball seat.
Yes.
I'm standing right now, and I've got one of those balance boards. I can't move the camera to show you. I should pick it up.
Here's what
I can't sit in a regular seat. It hurts
this
my back.
thing right here, you need to get one of these. Look, it's got this little thing on the back.
Oh my
It's
God.
amazing. Sorry, we're off topic,
We're-
but
that
we
looks
like
way-
to keep it lively. What is it?
I said that looks like way too much work.
It's not hard. It's like you're standing on a skateboard, but it's cool. It's totally cool. It works the core. It's just the same thing as the ball. But yeah, okay, so let's go back. How do we get a hold of you?
Email, text, social media, anything. So yeah, put my contact information, if you will, email
Sure.
and cell phone number in the notes.
Yeah, we're more than happy to do that because we have a private agent community as well on Facebook where it's not hard for agents to become a member. They just have to request access and we get them added. But we like there to be some kind of behind the wall kind of value that we provide here at Resource, and this is one of them. Access to service providers, industry, kind of influential industry people. Kate is certainly one of those, and she's speaking to the listeners. She is taking time out of her day while she's on an extended stay in Utah to come to you and discuss. What'd you say?
In my princess room.
In your princess room. I did notice that. That was I was not going to comment, but it's pretty. I like it. My daughter would be jealous. She just got her big girl bed.
Right. This is where Brynn, the maniac that keeps popping in, this is where she's sleeping right now. So
I think she and my Evelyn would get along. I think they both seem like the life of the party.
she is that.
That's but anyway, my I have a 3-year-old middle child, only girl, and she is like the center of the household that everything else revolves around. That is my Evelyn. So anyway, Kate, I really appreciate your time today. I think you provided some excellent insight into your experience. Before we go, I'm just curious because I have this hypothesis that your foray into the Real Producers as a business venture is probably not that dissimilar from a new real estate agent getting into business for themselves. Is there any one particular thing, because I don't think you were self-employed prior to this, were you?
No, I was a mortgage banker.
So you were a mortgage banker. So your foray into Real Producers and the land of being self-employed is kind of an experience that a lot of our and I would say a substantial percentage of our audience is brand new to the industry, real estate agents. What advice would you give them, or what one lesson have you learned that is most impactful in your journey as a self-employed person?
So many things. And they all kind of tie into the same baseline. It's, you kind of have to have a short-term memory. Don't let things get you down. Have thick skin.
I was just going to say that.
The things that encumber that. I mean, just work ethic. I mean, yes, you can have bad days and be like, give me a bottle of wine, right? But the short-term memory, move on. I mean, not saying don't remember your mistakes and things that you could have done better, but progress. You have to move forward. You have to pivot, reinvent the wheel. You have to think outside of the box in ways that others might not, and be open to suggestions, open to ideas. You have to be flexible as a business owner and be willing to take on criticism and suggestions and all of that. It makes you a better business owner.
A word comes to mind as I hear you cite all of these things. Resilience is what I hear. And I think you're spot on with that. seldom is becoming self-employed going to be what you expected, regardless of what industry you're in. And you're going to get knocked down, like you said. So just getting back up and being resilient, I think, is incredibly important. Great advice. I appreciate that very much. So as a reminder, you can find Kate and Louisville Real Producers via their social media on Instagram. If you've got those Rising Star nominations or even Cover Story nominations or Impactful Agent nominations, shoot those to her in a direct message through Facebook, Louisville Real Producers. Instagram handle is at...
How are you going to ask me that?
Sorry.
So
You can
bad.
search Louisville Real Producers.
Anyway, I put you on the spot. Look at her looking it up.
Louisville Real Producers.
At Louisville Real Producers on Instagram. Shoot her a direct message. You can get those nominations put in. As always, for Resource Real Talk about Louisville Real Estate, we appreciate you listening. As a reminder, we have our private Facebook group. All you got to do is send me a DM and I will get you added. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify or wherever you podcast. Videos of the episode are available for full consumption on YouTube. We'll have, snippets up on Instagram Reels here before too long. Seth is working his magic as we speak. But once again, appreciate you, Kate, taking the time for for Louisville Resource Real Talk about Louisville Real Estate. I'm Jay Pitts, your host, and we'll be back and see you next week.